Hello, everyone, once again. This is Rob, and welcome back to Media Awareness and an episode review of Dune Prophecy, the new HBO Max original series that is currently airing. We just got episode one and a couple of days ago, and I'm going to be giving you a review rundown of the episode with spoilers, so beware. Before I get to that, though, a reminder the fundraiser continues. For those of you new to my channel or unaware, I am a disabled individual and I use a motorized wheelchair slash scooter all day, every day for my independence, and I need your help. My insurance will not cover anything with regard to my scooter, as they view it as a quote luxury item end quote. Despite the fact that I am unable to walk whatsoever, in addition to being unable to use any other type of scooter or power chair or even a standard wheelchair for that matter, as I only have limited use of one hand. In addition to that, I do not have a backup scooter or wheelchair, so if my scooter does malfunction, as it recently did, I will be yet again a fish out of water, a scenario I want to avoid at all costs. With that stated, below the title of this video and the description, as well as in a separate section below the information pertaining to this video, you will find a Spot Fund fundraising link. Any and all support is welcome. It takes a few seconds to contribute. You can even contribute anonymously, and any and all help is welcome. Even $5 or $10 can really make a difference. I'm endeavoring to do two major things at this current time with regard to my scooter. I am endeavoring to both refurbish my existing scooter, that way it is like new and completely reliable, and secondly, I am attempting to raise enough money to purchase a new scooter as well. That way, I'm never without a working scooter. As alluded to momentarily ago, a moment ago rather, I was without my scooter, powered to it at least, for roughly 2 weeks, and it was psychologically very traumatizing. I had to rely on my family and friends to push me around my house in my scooter, and that's not who I am. I am a person that thrives on my independence. I pride myself on my independence, and although I'm not completely independent, the things I can do, I am proud of, and not being able to do those things as a result of this malfunction was really not good. Um, it turned out that the battery charging mechanism had failed and needed to be replaced entirely, as well as some other parts as well. And that was rather costly and depleted the fundraising amount quite severely. So that's why any and all help is welcome. Um, and like I said, I really think having my existing scooter refurbished, waiting in the wings for me just in case I need it, and having a new scooter to use consistently in my day to day life is the way to go. So please do what you can. As stated, any and all help is welcome. And I do want to extend a gracious thanks to those who have contributed thus far, in addition to those who plan on contributing, as your contributions have and will make a world of difference in my life. I mean that sincerely. Thank you all. I love you all. On with this video. So, um, Sunday evening, we got the premiere of Dune Prophecy. And this was something that I've been looking forward to for a very long time. And I covered this months ago, a year ago actually, to be exact. I think I covered it here around November of last year. And at that point in time, this show was going under the working title of the Sisterhood, which was an initial working of this particular Dune original story. Now, I had avoided any spoilers, any type of information regarding the series up until actually watching it, surprisingly. And aside from watching the trailer, that's was really all I had seen. And uh, I was a bit taken back and a bit um, bothered, I guess I could say, annoyed by the fact that um, the series is covering a time frame that has not really been written about, at least not in detail. And my uh, thoughts were incorrect. My thoughts were that this series was going to cover um, the Butlerian Jihad and um, the uh, trilogy of books that were contained within that series, the Machine Crusades and the Battle of Corin, and then the three books that came after that: Sisterhood of Dune, Mentats of Dune, and um, Navigators of Dune. All of which I think are brilliantly written by Brian Herbert, Frank Herbert's son, as well as in conjunction with Kevin J. Anderson. So, with that being said, this series is based on the material of Frank Herbert, Brian Herbert, and Kevin J. Anderson. I'm giving everyone credit where it's credit where credit is deserved, because that is where this is sort of picking up from, is from the tail end of the second trilogy I mentioned. And that bothered me because I was hoping to see those events play out. And I know we'll probably get more flashbacks. At the beginning of episode one, we get a sort of 10 to 15 minute, not even, synopsis of uh, the battle against the thinking machines and how they were, not really how they were defeated, but that they were defeated. And um, it's all really just very quickly shown. And sort of the foundations of the Bene Gesserit, although they had initially begun years ago as the Sisters of Rossack, which is a reference to what they were previously in the days of the Valerian Jihad, but I digress. Um, they are located on Wallach 9, and they are. Um, it starts out with um, Lady Raquella, who's one of the founding members, um, her passing, and her passing along to Valia Harkonnen, um, this sort of intention to carry on her work. And her work was that of selective breeding for the purposes of control. And in particular with the noble houses. Now, uh, the breeding program is not something that all the sisters are even aware of. I don't think, for that matter, and those who are all aren't in favor of it. Um, and Valia Harkonnen is um, challenged following Raquel's passing by Dorothea, for another sister, and of the sisterhood, and basically Dorothea wants to destroy the uh, breeding program because undoubtedly Dorothea knows what is being utilized. Now, for those of you who have not read these books, uh, it will come as a surprise. I've read the books. I know what the Sisterhood are using to compute these bloodlines, and it's not a mentad. I will say that. But their records are pretty accurate. That's where I will leave that. And Dorothea is hell bent on this. So Valia uses the voice for uh, first time it would seem, and it's effective, and she causes Dorothea to kill herself, and the sisters cover it up, and they move along, and it flashes forward 30 years, and Valia is the Reverend Mother of the school itself. It's questionable to whether or not there are any other Reverend Mothers at that point. Um, but she is the Mother Superior, so to speak. And her sister Tula is basically very. They're a lot alike, but they are different. Valia is more uh, headstrong and more intent on carrying out things as she sees fit, um, and according to plan. And Tulia thinks about things more so before doing them. That's the best way I can describe them both. In other words, Dahlia is a bit impulsive, but when the need is there, it's hard not to be. So, nevertheless, I digress. Um, their plan is to arrange a um, marriage between two houses, um, House Richese and House Carino. Now, I'm going to pronounce House Richese as House Richese, despite several people doing reviews on YouTube who pronounced it incorrectly. The correct pronunciation of House Richese is House Richese. And I know this because I listened to the audiobooks read by Scott Brick, who received direction from Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson, who would know how to pronounce Richese. So that is my rationale for sticking to this. And hats off to Scott Brick for a great job reading those audiobooks. I love them. So, uh, the marriage is arranged, and it will be between a a sister of uh, the Bene Gesserit and a royal from House Richese who happens to be 9 years old. And the plan is because he is so young to sort of mold him, and he's pliable enough to shape and guide for their intentions, and they orchestrate this whole thing. And while this um, situation is being worked out, a gentleman who was uh, known to the emperor returns from Arrakis named Desmond Hart. And Desmond um, has a nice little conversation with the emperor, but the emperor is surprised to see him, presuming that his men were all destroyed on Arrakis in this raid, and apparently Desmond had brought proof that it wasn't a Fremen raid per se, but others, other houses, other individuals, and he wanted to hand deliver that to the Emperor himself, and he does so, and he gets some really intense looks from the Emperor's um, Bene Gesserit confidant, Kasha. And it makes you wonder how legitimate Desmond is, how sincere he really is. But he is invited to basically take part in the engagement ceremony and be a guest at the engagement ceremony. As in this uh, universe, they have a ceremony for everything, it would seem. And from reading the books, I can say that. It's not a bad thing. I'd like to have a ceremony for breakfast, one for dinner, one for lunch. I'm exaggerating, but they have a ceremony where the uh, groom and bride come face to face, and they basically share a pomegranate, and uh, the sister who was chosen does try and actually be nice to the kid. The kid's only 9, and he's just sort of being. It's an arranged marriage. He has no choice, and all he wants to do is be a kid. So, she tries to engage with him on some level. Saying, what do you like to be called? And he says, well, my name's Prude, and that's fine. And this is all just formality. You don't have to talk to me. So he kind of blows her off rather rudely. Um, but she's persistent, and right after that ceremony takes place, they're sitting side by side as people are around the room chit chatting and interacting. Sort of the reception following the engagement party. And uh, Prude is playing with something, and um, you know, uh, his wife to be asks what it is, and um, he says it's nothing, and she basically makes a point of saying that being that they are to be married, he needs to share with her everything, and he shows her, and it is a little machine that proceeds to leap from his hands and scurry across the floor. Now, machines are outlawed under the guidelines of the Butlerian Jihad. Um, so everyone in the room panics, and the machine is neutralized, and the Emperor does let the festivities continue, much to his wife's dismay, as she's really shaken by this whole thing. And the fact that this would actually be a permissible thing. Um, Sort of the lacks of uh, society relying on technology once again, too much, but gradually. Um, and basically, um, to make a long story short, with that plot line, uh, Pruitt um, later that evening is sitting by himself in the hallway, and Desmond Hart comes up to him and asks him why he's there. He basically responds that he had a bad dream, and Desmond sits across from him, and the kid has the toy, um, the machine, I should say, but it is faulty at this point, and um, something occurs, um, and Desmond looks at the kid, and the kid is basically having trouble breathing. His skin is basically burning from the inside out. And Desmond very calmly says, just relax. It'll be over soon. And this raises a lot of questions as to Desmond because as this is going on, the Emperor decides to wake up and review the footage Desmond brought. And when he does so, he sees that Desmond is indeed basically destroyed. Um, so the question becomes, is Desmond Hart really Desmond Hart? Is Desmond Hart a clone that was harvested by the Tlilaxu so that way they can manipulate the houses and work against the Bene Gesserit breeding program? Is Desmond Hart somehow involved with the machines? Um, there's a lot of questions that can be posed with this. Now, as this occurs as well, uh, Lady Kasha, who was the Emperor's Bene Gesserit, has a disturbing vision and returned immediately to Wall 9 to tell the sisters, um, specifically Valia and Tula, what she saw. And in her vision, and this is one of several visions that take place in this episode, but one and two that Kasha has herself, and as far as I can recall, and she describes what she'd seen to some degree with the Valiantula, but also just says, are you sure that we're on the right path? And it starts to become more of a question. And when Kasha is there overnight before departing the next day, in the middle of the night, presumably at the same time that Peruid is being killed by something Desmond had done, it affects Kasha as well. And Valia observes it. All the sisters see it at the same time. And like I said, the question becomes, what is it? Now, in the time of the Butlerian Jihad, there was a machine virus, a nanovirus, that was um, going around. And it was not really cured per se, but it was neutralized. So, is it something that he is able to draw out? Is he even Desmond anymore? Now, my theory is that he is a Tleilaxu clone. Um, However, that may be incorrect. I don't know. Um, he also could be a Tleilaxu clone working with the Tleilaxu and remnants of the Machine Empire, or any number of things. Um, in Kasha's vision, there's this ominous voice from beyond the void in space, and you can't really make out anything it says, but it's it's basically hinting at something, and it could be possibly the God Emperor, his prescience in time and space, given his longevity once he is born years later. Um, he may be transcendent in time and space. I, I, I can't really even speculate on what this thing could be, other than some sort of technology that shouldn't exist and shouldn't be there, or something. But in the midst of this whole ordeal, uh, there is a princess of House Carino who is going to be joining the sisterhood, and um, she uh, she's not really focused on a lot in this episode, but you could tell that it's being set up for her, because having Bene Gesserit um, uh, influence in the royal court is really significant, especially after the um, intended husband, Pruitt, um, was killed now. Because now House Carino may be suspecting House, House Marchese rather, may be suspecting House Carino of doing something to their son, or any number of things could happen. They all might blame the Bene Gesserit. There's so many things that could go wrong now with who's going to blame who for what happened, and um, how it's going to overall affect the breeding program. So, um, it's a good show. I I am looking forward to the next episode. I I like all the characters that were introduced that survived. Um, have to preface that. Um, I I don't know really what the intention of this story being told is. And that's kind of where I am left at. Yes, we know about the Bene Gesserit breeding program. Yes, we know it was planted in the early days of the empire, and basically put on every uh, habitable world to have the influence of the sisterhood. Eventually, it became myth more so than a plan over time, because over time everything changes and becomes myth to some degree. So there's a lot to consider. I think the biggest question is also is Desmond a Goa, which is, like I said, a Tleilaxu clone, um, or something else entirely. He obviously has a power of some sort, as he was able to really just not only do away with the um, son of House Richese, but at the same time, he was able to unknowingly um, uh, dispel Kasha on Log 9. And it makes you think of what's the intention, what's the end game. Uh, the Swordmaster training the princess. There was a little scene where they were training, a little training scene, and later on, uh, prior to the princess leaving, she goes out partying. This was a scene that got some flack online. I thought it was perfectly fine. Um, and she ends up passionately um, involved at that point in time with her swordmaster, and it's a well done scene. Nothing really intensely graphic, and it's just all this is going on at the same time for the most part. All these events are transpiring, and it is very Dune in that aspect. Um, like I said, my question is, where's it, what is the end game of this series, and uh, you know, what is Desmond Hart? Well, there's this power that he seems to have, and it's quite possibly a machine-related power. It would seem like, because the way Pruitt and Kasha looked, it looked as if it was that nanovirus as it was described in the books as basically uh, destroying you from the inside out. And that's kind of how it looked. So that's my speculation. I'm sure we will find out. And with that said, there is a scene between the Emperor and Desmond, and it is a one on one conversation. And I want to just play an excerpt here from this conversation. That way, you guys get a feel for why I am thinking in the manner I am.
Do you believe in forces that extend beyond man and machine?
I don't know what I believe anymore.
Well, then believe this. I should not be here. That attack should have killed me. The fear I felt staring down in that abyss. You know what I prayed for then? The strength to feel nothing. Next thing I know, I'm clawing my way out of the sand. My lungs are screaming. And when I took my first breath, I felt reborn. Different. I was no longer afraid. The gods are listening.
But in the meantime, we have a few days to wait. It'll be coming on Sunday. I will try and have my review up sooner. I had some problems with the review initially, and wanted to make sure everything was accurate and finalized, and I do hope that you guys decide to watch this, and if you do, please let me know your thoughts in the comment section. I'm really curious to know what you think of this series, and also what is your favorite Dune adaptation? The David Lynch, Sci-Fi Channel, uh, Denis Villeneuve, um, the proposed Jodorowsky's Dune. Let me know. I really would love to know. I am still quite fond of Lynch's Dune for the original Dune. As far as prequel stories are concerned, I do favor the Brian Herbert and Kevin J. Anderson stories, and I know a lot of fans of Herbert, Frank, that is, are against those books and don't view them as canon. Um, I think they're well written. They're not written in the manner Frank wrote, but they're written in the manner Brian and Kevin write, and it's a little more accessible to the masses. So I think that it is done well. But nevertheless, check out this show if you haven't done so. It is on Max, and also a reminder the fundraiser continues. Any and all help is welcome. And I will see you all soon. Have a wonderful morning, noon, or night, wherever you are. Take care, and may the spice flow.